talented.
Yeah.
Me and Dave kind of share the load. Hey, it looks like we might be live streaming.
It looks like we might be live streaming. So we are definitely on Facebook right now, and YouTube will be up in just a second.
I see it up on the screen. So,
Yes, sir.
Well, there you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another week of the March to Mandalorian Season 3. We are very excited about tonight's episode. I'm Spencer. I am one of your hosts for the evening, and your producer for the night is Dave. Dave, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well this evening. Excited about a good show.
And with us is the governor. John, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. Really excited about tonight's show. These two gentlemen never met before, and so I'm really looking forward to getting to know them a bit better.
And above Dave, we have El Jefe Jeff. How are you, sir?
Good. Glad I could get here in time by the skin of my teeth.
So tonight is a very, very special night because as we are just about finishing up with episode 7 of Book of Boba Fett with Mandalorian Season 3 starting in 2 weeks, which is going to be absolutely incredible. We are very fortunate to have two gentlemen who donned the helmet and are now part of a very exclusive club to be known as a Fett, for that matter. And first, I want to welcome, he was the stunt guy for Tamora Morrison for the first couple of episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. I'd like to welcome Ian Albatar. How are you, Ian?
I'm doing great, thank you.
And we would like to welcome, he was the stunt coordinator for the show as well as the full body Fett stunt guy. And I guess I want to say the most obvious trope in deputy history without the helmet. JJ Dashnell, how are you, sir?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
We're doing very fantastic. So thank you guys very much for joining us. And if anybody has any questions in the crowd, Dave, how can people ask?
Smoke signals, semaphore, Morse code, possibly.
Telegraph.
No, of
Post-it
course, if
notes.
you have any questions, whatever platform you're watching on, you can just type them in the chat over here on Facebook or YouTube. I'm monitoring both, and I will, in a break in the conversation, I'll relay those to our guests or panelists or whoever it is the question's for.
So we're going to start off with one first question, and I'll put this first to Ian. Ian, when did you get were you a Star Wars fan growing up, first and foremost?
Well, was what?
A Star Wars fan growing up.
I've watched some of it. Yes, I've definitely watched all of it as a kid, but I'm not a movie guy, believe it or not. So I was never attached to anything in the movies at all. So, but I know all about it, yes, and we watched it since we were kids, yes.
So did you know about the lore of Boba Fett before you got involved in the show, or was this like completely new to you?
No, that was actually new to me, and it took me about 2 months being in the show to find out that this is Boba Fett, because it was a lot of different names, different codes, and until somebody sneaked into me and he said, "Hey, do you know what are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Actually, no, I'm not sure what's going on." And then they told me, "Go watch some of the Star Wars movies, and then you'll get some ideas." And I went with my wife, and I'm like, "Let's watch." And I still didn't get what's going on until, I finally, somebody talked to me and gave me some information.
That's pretty awesome. JJ, same question. When did you get involved, your love of the Star Wars universe or anything of that nature?
Yeah, obviously watching as a kid, I knew it, but my best friend that lived across the street from me, Ryan Statz, his parents were huge Star Wars fans. So I think I learned most about Star Wars just as a kid going over to their house. They had every toy and, poster and everything there. Same thing as Eod, Boba Fett, I knew who he was, but, he just kind of got such a small rap in the movies and stuff. I didn't really put it all together until, we were shooting and stuff. And obviously, Robert Rodriguez, the director, who brought me on, brought me to his house and kind of filled me in on everything. And I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome. Bounty hunter, I can get into that. So that kind of was just how I got introduced into, the recreation of this character.
So you mentioned something very interesting in that conversation. I actually was looking at your IMDb. You've done a lot of work with Robert, having done a couple of Spy Kids and some of that. Did he bring you on because of your work in your past lives with him?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I've been working with Robert since Spy Kids 2. It actually was the first film I did out of high school. My dad has been his stunt coordinator for years, so Robert's kind of seen me grow up in the business, and I kind of transitioned into coordinating for him. And yeah, Robert brought me on, and he's a very good friend of mine. I look up to him, and obviously super talented, and I was very thankful for this opportunity. That's for sure.
Well, it's absolutely a fantastic opportunity, and I guess one of the first questions that I know that John would be very interested in, and I'm going to go to Iyad first, is did you get to be involved with Tamura doing the haka and all of his different movements with guys, what's the
Happy stick.
Gaffy stick.
Gaffy stick? Yes,
There he
I
is.
completely brain fart. Like, did he train you on both of you guys on that? Did you guys play around with it, or did you work on it together? Like,
as far as the dance and stuff, I think he pretty much done all of it. He's actually a lot better than me. I tried to actually do it, and it was just not. This is something he grew up with.
Yeah.
And he definitely was a lot better. Like, I mean, I was watching him like, he should do it. Like, I shouldn't even. I mean, what I did is basically in the show is just the stunts, the falls, the hits, the ratchet, and the fight in the tank. But when it came to the gaffer stick and all the dance and stuff, that was all him. He's like 100 times better than me.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, JJ? Did you do any of that with him?
Yeah, no, you know what? There was a lot of collaboration that went into that. Obviously, we wanted to bring in, his culture into it, but we also didn't want it to be fully a haka dance. But it was a combination of that. It was a combination of some of the training moves we did. There was a lot more that went into that just to kind of get the tone right. And obviously, even up to the night we shot it, we still kind of tweaked some things, but once it kind of all came together and we got everyone in there, we got some featured extra martial artists that helped us. It worked out really well. And honestly, there was a lot more that went into that than you would think. There was a lot of discussion in that. Steph Green, our director, she was awesome, very hands-on during the whole process. But yeah, like Iyad said, what Tim he's so good, and he's one of the hardest working actors I've worked with. So it was really nice to have someone that was willing to put in the work and timing and all that good stuff, because fortunately we work with a lot of people that don't want to put the work in. It just makes it a nightmare.
So very cool. Gentlemen, question for you both is, since you've said that you both like learned about and kind of since figured out what a lot of the mystique behind the history of Boba Fett is, have you guys had the chance to check out and get with a lot of the other actors who have been under the helmet? Is this is my helmet that I have autographs from former stuntmen, Dickie Beer, John Morton, and all the other guys who have been under the helmet doing stunts. I'll totally have to save some space for you guys now when we meet in person and get all of that together. Have you guys had a chance to meet any of those other vets other than Tamura?
No, didn't really get to. There wasn't the opportunity, but being able to work with Mr. Filoni and Jon Favreau, they know it in and out, and I just learned basically the history through them, the rules, the way that he moves, and all that good stuff. It wasn't the same as having those guys, but it obviously, to have their help and guidance on the set and just the work and dedication they put into this show definitely helped, us become the character.
Cool.
I did meet Dickie Beard recently. Actually, I've known him from before because he's a stunt coordinator for in a business. but I never got to meet him and work with him. But we went to Texas about 2 months ago. We did a signing event, me and him together, and it was the
Wow.
first time to meet him.
He's a very
And I-
cool guy.
And I gave him a hard time for not hiring me for the 22 years in the business. But
So
but
you
he,
should.
he responds say you wasn't that good to be hired. And I'm like, okay, I take that.
Yeah, he did not take a lot of garbage off anyone. He was sitting next to Daniel Logan when I saw him at Celebration, and it's like, yeah, okay, you might be Boba Fett too, but no, I was first.
The
Just
OG.
quickly going back to what you were talking about with the haka. So for those of you that are watching that don't know, the haka is a New Zealand tribal dance. And when I was growing up in Wales, when I was a kid, we would play rugby against the New Zealand schools, and it would terrify us. So it
Oh,
was
absolutely.
interesting to see how you guys blended that really well into those particular episodes, and how it really worked as a wonderful dance sequence. So one thing about Dickie Beer, by the way, don't trust Dickie, because I've known him for a little while, and he gives me a dig in the ribs once in a while when I don't see him when he's walking behind me.
Oh, that's great.
Dave, is there any questions in the chat?
So I have a question over here from Lila. All right. So Lila is asking, what is it like to kick ass and take names? No, but for real, what has been the fastest scene that you have had to put together that really looked amazing on scene, that you didn't really spend as much time on it, just went together naturally? And then what scene have you been involved in that then took the longest to have to make it look just right?
So are we talking about for this show right here?
I'll open it to anything you've done this show, but we always love to hear about other things you've done as well.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, honestly, working for Robert Rodriguez, there's a lot of planning that goes on, but this is why I like Robert. He's so hands-on, like we can plan everything, but until you get on set and with other people around and people in costume, you kind of see like your brain goes somewhere else and you can think of something else. So I would say working for Robert Rodriguez, there's a lot of times we have to think on our toes and kind of come up with a audible, if you will. And, we did a lot of that in this episode 7, when they're fighting, all these pilgrims and stuff. I mean, we shot this scene for 3-4 weeks, and we had all these plans, but there was also, oh, wow, this would be cool if we did this. And we would come up with it real quick in 5-10 minutes and shoot it. And I like that kind of style because it keeps you on your toes. It keeps the day going by fast. So there was a lot of that in episode 7 for sure. Just because the multitude, there's a lot of the action in this, the episode, but there was so much more that we shot that,
So much going on to begin
it
with.
was ever. Yeah. It felt like we were shooting that episode for the entire season.
Question from me. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say for me, like I normally like don't do that's thinking because I show up to the set and somebody like JJ who's hired me for this, they already have what's been planned, and I just have to listen and follow up, and they show me what I need to do, and so I don't have to use my brain.
Muscle memory.
I just show up and he's like, you're gonna jump here, you're gonna get hit here, and you're gonna grab you here, you're gonna fall here.
Yeah.
All right,
Well, it's
follow,
very-
done.
It's very interesting you're talking, JJ, about Robert with the playing, because I know when we watched the gallery, the behind the scenes about it, he showed a couple of his montages that he put together with his action figures, and then when he did the big creature, the Harryhausen like big dragon that he fought with Dawn, and earlier on, I think you were part of that. It was nice to see how he was actually breaking down what he's thinking in his mind on his own before he brought to the creators and the sets and all that. Is he very hands-on like that for everything?
He's very, very, very hands-on, and his brain is way more advanced than most us normal human beings. So I have learned so much in my career, not only, I've obviously worked with a lot of big names, but Robert's definitely up there with me as far as, special directors I care about and respect. That's for sure. His style is like nothing else I've ever seen. So it's definitely fun. I'm always learning, and I'm 40 years old, so I'm always learning from Mr. Rodriguez whenever we work together.
Well, it was funny because I know initially when he got hired and did the one episode of season 2 in Mandalorian, the Fett episode, as soon as we heard Robert Rodriguez, all us fans were like, all right, where's Treyu? Like, Danny's going to show up somewhere because Danny always shows up, and then all of a sudden he's the rank card keeper. So
Yeah, he made it. He made it.
So we're not watching this sequence as part of chapter 7 tonight, but I've got to ask you, I think of all the scenes that you guys were certainly involved with and coordinated and appeared in, and, you know, did a lot of the stunt work, you know, the attack on the train, that was just my absolute favorite scene. You know, very Lawrence of Arabia, you know, kind of getting after this valuable cargo. You know, what was that like to work on, the planning, the actual work? You know, how long did it take? Tell us a little bit about your experience with that particular scene.
Yeah, that was a fun one. First of all, we shot it in 1 week, which is asinine. Like, we were joking, we're like, this is at least a 3-week second unit sequence, but it was so well planned out. We had, you know, I can say nothing but good things about just the crew. Like, everybody was on the same page and we were just rolling. I mean, from sun up to sundown, we never stopped, and we hammered it out in a week. Everybody was safe, and yeah, I agree with you. I think that's one of the better scenes that turned out the whole season, was that train sequence. That's for sure. My man Eod was up there kicking butt. It was good. It was all good.
yeah, how's that working on that scene?
It was very physical, a lot of physical, nonstop, and yeah, just up and down, a lot of hard hits, following the trains and stuff, and I think what really make it very difficult for me is, like, we have this big fans blowing wind, dust, wind, and you couldn't. This was hard to hear, and we have to run and jump, and stuff gets in your eye, and as you're running, and like, so it was definitely a very, very physical. And you know, working for JJ, he doesn't give you a slack. You gotta get up and get it done.
Yeah,
You
nonstop.
can't even, yeah.
So Ian, you had some in the first couple episodes when you first
For the first 4 episodes, I doubled them for the 4 episodes, the first 4 episodes.
So one of the episodes you had some gnarly battles with the Tusken Raiders. I mean, how is that? How is the physicality? You know, as far as like the hand to hand when you were working on those scenes.
Which were the one in the train, or?
It was prior.
Yeah, before they.
It was a training sequence, Eod, and just basically when Joanna was whooping your butt the first time.
Oh, no, oh yeah.
Which was hilarious, by the way. There's a lot of comedy involved in that one, so it was great.
Yeah, there's a lot of hitting ground in that one. It was at night. I believe it was at night, right? So it was kind of cold. But I think when I was running, when I was supposed to be tackled with a dog or something, I looked. Yeah. I think at 4:30 in the morning, I after a few takes, and they kept telling me, "You gotta run faster, faster." I'm like, "This is as fast as it get." I mean, like around 4:30 in the morning, I pulled my hamstring. And I said, "This is all you got for tonight. That's it. I'm out for tonight." I'm like, if you want me to come back tomorrow, then it's that's it. No more running.
So when you have scenes like that, and you're constantly hitting the ground, and you're doing that sort of thing, is there a different armor that you would use for that? Do you have different pieces maybe on your back or your butt that would be foam, or do you remove pieces, or how do you make that work and not crunch the armor or crunch yourself, or you just do it?
That's for JJ. He was in the armor. I did not do any falls in the armor. It was all JJ.
Yeah, I got lucky. You know, they've had a lot of trial and error on the armor suits with Brendan growing up through the years. So I basically got the Cadillac of suits. That was super comfortable. I mean, I had a friggin' fan in my helmet for air condition. I mean, I was, sitting there looking at Brendan like, what's the problem?
Yeah,
buddy?
his
You know, so
Boba's-
yeah, no, they did a great job at modifying all our stuff. I mean, I didn't even wear pads underneath myself. I just used the armor basically for
Oh wow.
the falls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Boba's current armor is a lot more stripped down than his original version. So
Correct. Yeah,
sure
because
there
I
was a
did
lot,
wear
yeah.
I wore the original one when I climbed out of the Starlight Pit, and it definitely was not as comfortable. That's for sure.
Well, as an old school fan, we were very excited to finally see how he got out of the Sarlacc pit. So that was, we've been waiting since '83 to find out that question. So,
Yeah.
which was great. But yeah, Dave, any other questions in the crowd for us right now?
No, we don't have a whole lot of people in there. Is Lila thanks you for your early answer, and a lot of people saying hello and thank you for joining us tonight. But I think a lot of people are just listening to the questions and the story we're telling as is.
So
Awesome.
we have an amazing friend of our group, Kevin Thompson, who was actually one of the stunt Ewoks on Return of the Jedi, and that's what he was, employed by in the capacity of a stunt Ewok by Lucasfilm. Anyway, he was telling us about a story where he worked with Glenn Randall Jr. And he was telling us that as a stunt Ewok, it's okay. It's understanding the scene, what you're required to do, and rehearse until it was almost you could do it in your sleep.
Mhm.
And you guys probably know this, but invariably things you can rehearse it as much as you like, it'll go wrong. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so for example, there was this one sequence where they had to take 6 steps, jump off a log onto a rope, and hit the back of a stormtrooper, and it took them like 10 takes to do that, although in theory it should go perfectly. Tell us a little bit about the kind of things that happen, like errors or mistakes that you didn't anticipate happening on a particular stunt.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that's half of our stuff. I mean, a lot of the stuff that turns out good on camera is a mistake. And the most the reason it looks so good a lot of times is it's organic. There's obviously some stuff that we have to do, like rehearse wire work and stuff like that we gotta kind of dial in. But a lot of times with these fights and stuff, there's mistakes that happen that end up working good. Not bad mistakes. It's all it's just falling a different way or something like that. That to me is the most real thing. Like everything that's like over rehearsed, I feel like it looks just that. It looks over rehearsed. So a lot of stuff we do, we'll switch it up on the deal and just go for it. And that's like, you're getting real stuff, you're getting real action. It's my biggest thing when I coordinate is I want things to look real. And I've been fortunate enough to grow up in the business since I was 8 years old. I've learned from the best. So yeah, that's what I would say. I would say some of the best stuff you see on camera, a lot of them are just, really, really fortunate mistakes or little tweaks. You can always tell the ones that are super planned out. And to me, I can always catch that. I can always see that, it comes across in everybody's body language and in, the way it's shot. So yeah, that's what I'd say about that.
So you mentioned really quickly, wire work, and that would obviously in this particular episode that we're watching tonight, that certainly the last sequences there's a lot of wire work. But in your business is something called the gooch. Tell us a little bit about what the gooch is.
Gooch wrap. It's my favorite. Basically you wrap the rope around, your behind and around your crotch, and you circle around your shoulder. So it's just that you get pulled from your gooch. It's a gooch wrap. You do a couple flips. It's definitely not the most comfortable. It doesn't always, to me, look the best, but it's just really funny to do to some of your friends sometimes. It's just like, all right, gooch wrap. They're just like, really? You're like, yeah, the director wants it.
Yeah, it's an important part of the next scene.
It's very important, I'm telling you. Yeah.
So, Ian, here's a question for you. It doesn't have to be involved with Fett, but what was one of your favorite sequences you've ever had to perform in any of your productions?
And in my productions,
Yeah.
like outside Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of the driving stuff, because driving is kind of one of my top specialty, and that's what I was doing at Magnum PI, and so I like just to be driving, like just sliding cars or crashing cars, and I don't get hurt. Like the fight we did in Boba Fett, I think the first episode or the second one, when I was in my underwear hitting the ground. I got tricked into it, by the way. I got tricked in.
Yeah, I didn't tell him he was doing a naked fight. Damn.
I just like I got there and
Might have been
they,
a deal
they send me
breaker.
for he sent me for a fitting, and I go and they give me underwear. Well, like I'm like, why are you giving me underwear? It's like that's your wardrobe. And I'm like, what else? Like that's it. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Then I showed up to the set and nothing but hard floor, hard walls, and I'm like, oh.
Oh, I gave you soft floor. Don't.
It was hard. It was
I
hard.
gave you some insight.
But yeah,
You know, it's funny. Dickie B was telling us something about that recently, where on Return of the Jedi, when they fell off the skiff into the Sarlacc pit, he told us, I think it was 2, maybe 3 of the stunt guys got really badly injured, broken bones and whatnot. And he figured out that it was the landing pad or the way they rolled or something. And he let a few guys go to make sure that it was all working correctly, and then he did his stunt and perfectly safe. But a few guys ended up in the hospital because of I think it was the type of pad or the type of foam they were falling onto wasn't quite right. So
Yeah. It's a combination of that. I mean, honestly, falling, everyone just thinks that it's just us hucking ourselves and falling, but there is an art to how you land and stuff. And a lot of people, I mean, if you land a little bit off, everything can be prepped, you can have the right ground, but if you land a little bit off, you can stuff a shoulder or do that. So a lot of that, it has to do with the performer as well.
Having done some professional wrestling training myself, I can definitely understand how taking the bump and making sure that you're utilizing your arms and the impact of this. I completely I get it.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely an art to it.
So we're close to that time. Jeff, Dave, any questions from you guys or anything of that nature before we get started?
I was just going to ask in terms of like scenes like the train, how well actually no, that wouldn't have been, it would have been scenes later on. It was working with like Lateef or Brendan while you guys were all armored up. What was that experience like in terms of those guys and how they work?
Yeah, it was great. I've worked with Lateef for years, and I mean, one thing about me is I don't have an ego coming into a show. So this was my first show with the thing. So I leaned heavily on Brendan and Lateef. I just, because they've been doing this for years.
Mm-hmm.
What are the rules, and all this stuff, because there are, a lot of people don't know. So there's rules that we have to do, the way we move, like no recoil and guns. So there was a big learning curve the whole season, but, working, it was nice to be able to work with Lateef in that capacity because we've worked together, not so much, back-to-back fighting like we did on this one.
Right.
But it was good. Lateef's a pro, Brennan's a pro, Yad and I are pros. So, it's nice to work with a group that has no ego and everyone's, there actually as a team. And
right.
So we're all in it for the same goals to make the show look good.
There was so much going on in some of the scenes in this, the final battle, especially, that it's like you guys have to really know what you're doing to be able to work that space properly together. And
absolutely. And that's always the one thing, one of the biggest rules in stunts, it's always know where your other person is and making eye contact and, not rushing things. And
it must be difficult wearing a visored helmet that's barely can see out of.
Well, for Lateef, because he doesn't have a fan, I had a fan. I could see great. Like I didn't.
Oh, right.
I don't know what his problem was.
It was a great. So Brendan actually tells this really great story of in season 2 where Mando is fighting Giancarlo Esposito's character Moff Gideon, and Lateef swapped out with Brendan to do a couple of the closer shots, and forgot to tell Brendan that Giancarlo goes 100 when he's swinging the dark saber, the big lightsaber. Yep. So he literally almost got off set and had to run back and sees Brendan getting clocked over the head. And Brendan's looking at him like, "You didn't tell me." He's like, "That's why I came back."
Yeah, forgot to tell you. Oops. Yeah, they actually had to reinforce the dark saber for Mando just because of that for the end of season 2. So the dark saber was much more strong.
Didn't
that's for sure.
Brendan say that his helmet cracked or something?
Oh yeah, I think a couple of them. I think he busted a couple helmets.
Crazy.
So
Yeah.
we're about to start that up. So as we're talking along, we'll explain the scene and we'll talk about the different stuff with that you work with as well. But JJ, are you all queued up?
Yeah, I'm all queued up, buddy.
Okay. So we're going to start at the Disney splash, and then we go through the recap, just so that everybody gets to see that. And I think that you're in the recap without your helmet too, so we'll get to see.
Oh boy.
But beardless, of course.
Yeah, I know. I got a beard. This is 4
You
months.
can be part of an honorary beard batch member. I have our
Yeah, I see
beard
that. I
batch
saw
shirt
that.
on.
Yeah. I love it.
As my father would say, a beard you could lose a badger in.
Ah,
There
what are
you
we
go.
doing? We're just starting the episode, or what are we?
Yeah,
what are
so we're going to do a
Yeah.
10-second countdown,
We'll get a countdown here.
Okay.
and then we'll all hit play at the same time.
Cool.
All right, we're going to start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play.
So while that's loading up, is ask you a couple of questions. Is you mentioned you have to follow the rules of no recoil on the weapons, but still having to make it look like the recoil. Do you find yourself doing what others have said? Is find yourself going pew pew pew?
1,000,000% pew pew all day. It sounds stupid, but it really does help. Helps the timing. Helps the timing out.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows what happens. Pew pew. Some stuff is happening.
Oof.
Oh yeah. Here we come.
That's cool.
Dorian.
We want to see the outtakes where we can hear that
Oh.
audio. That would
Oh,
just
yeah.
be
You only see Vance get shot.
I love how the camera work, especially with that scene with you as a deputy. It's like you see Timothy like a side eye, like don't move, and you're like, well,
Don't do it.
The deputy's gonna move. The deputy's gonna move.
Yeah.
And also
Don't do it.
I got talked into that. Filoni totally talked to me. He didn't even tell me I was gonna have to do that. So I was like, gosh.
Yeah.
Well, from what I heard, that's actually how Favreau talked him into actually being in Mando as well. He basically said to him, "Was like, you just gotta do it."
Yeah, it just shames us into it.
So obviously, one of the talks that we've talked about a couple of times is obviously Favreau, who a lot of us who are children of the 80s and the 90s really look at him, and he was Gunner from PCU. But seeing where he's come now and done one of the biggest Christmas movies of all time, starts the MCU, and some people even say saves Star Wars. What was it like? And I'll start with then we'll move to JJ. What was it like collaborating with Jon Favreau?
I didn't really. I mean, in this show, honestly, I didn't really get involved with Jon Favreau at all because he was just come and supervising, and we were the other directors there, and he would just come and talk what he wants when he feels, and he will leave. I mean, I know I've worked with Jon Favreau and got involved with him more when I did the first Iron Man. That's the first time I met him, and he actually, when he saw me, he remembered me because it was my first time in my life doing a stunt, and actually when I used to fight and I got knocked out cold in a fight in Iron Man, and he remembered me, and I said, "You're gonna knock me out again?" And he was laughing, and in the show he came up to me, like literally the last day of the shoot, he came up to me and he said, "Hey, we're done and you're still in one piece today." Well, all right, that sounds like a good deal. That was pretty much it. Yeah.
He owes you.
Which fight did you do in Iron Man?
If you remember the first Iron Man, when he comes out of the cave, the first time he comes out of the cave,
yes,
and he starts smashing people around,
Yep.
I was the second guy who got hit, and I went flying to the wall, and it knocked me out cold. I took a nap, and he was getting mad at that point when I was stopped because I was knocked out. I was trying to move, and he was talking to the coordinator next to him, and he's like, "What is he doing?" And he goes like, "He's knocked out. That's what he's doing."
So did the cut scene where you got knocked out, did that cut make the film?
I have to do it after that. After I wake up, I have to do it 9 times to make it happen.
Oh.
So it's in the film.
What about you, JJ? What was your experience like working with John?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like that's where I learned a lot about the character and everything is John is one thing about him is he cares so much about this project. Sometimes, I mean, during rehearsal, it would be an hour, not lecture, but just him just talking about the scene. So all of us understand what's happening and why we do it. And it just is really, it's cool to see, you know, especially this late in my career, that someone like Jon Favreau still cares so much about what he's doing. And honestly, I mean, like, this is his baby, and he cares, you know, not for himself, but for the fans and for the show and just for the genuity of everything. So it's really cool and very refreshing to see.
And a lot of people have said, obviously, that in Star Wars terms, that that Dave Filoni is the Padawan learner, now the new master from George Lucas. What sort of like background of the character or the lore did you learn from Filoni?
Oh man, I mean, I go to him, and you know, obviously I go to John, but I go to Dave for anything. I think, like, would this happen? Would this not happen?
Minutia.
And I mean, he's basically, he's the Bible of Star Wars. So it's really nice to have someone like that. Even when we're putting together fights, you know, I'd be like, does this make sense? Is this true? Is this how it would happen? And he's very, it's not, well, it's either yes or no and this. And so it's honestly, in that aspect, it makes my job a little easier to be able to have a definitive answer when I'm setting things up.
So we're looking at this scene right now with the Pike Syndicate and Cad Bane. It was very interesting, you know, obviously for us who watch the cartoons. Did you watch any of the cartoons or anything of that nature to learn a little bit about Cad Bane's character? Or
No, not at all. I learned Cad Bane during this shoot. Yeah, didn't have much knowledge going into this one.
Wow.
When I saw it, I thought, wow, that's so badass. It looked
Oh man, the
so
suits,
terrifying.
Yeah,
to
it really
face
turned
that
out.
down.
It really turned out good.
And fortunate enough to meet Dorian Kingy, who played that particular character. A nice guy.
He's great.
Yes.
I've known Dorian since we've been infants. His father and my dad have done stunts for 40 plus years together.
That's right. I chatted to him about that. So
So you mentioned that you like to do a lot of driving. Tell us about some of the craziest sequences you've done in the car.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I get this question all the time, and I really don't have something like I think I would just want to say the craziest one that I got kind of close call. I think that I was going side to side with another car that's supposed to do something called pipe ram, and I was supposed to stay in the frame with this car as long as possible. So as soon as I hit the pipe ram, I have to slam on the brake and just stay as close. And I looked in the corner of my eyes and I see the car's almost gonna land in my roof. And I kind of freaked out. It's a big truck, and I'm like, whoa! And that he missed me probably a few feet. Like, luckily, because if he landed on me, probably would have been not a good day. So, I mean, the guy who did it, who's the one who took the most of the hit, but to me, it's like, if he landed in my roof, because his car is all caged out, and my car is nothing, so he would probably, crushed me.
do you guys think the technology has changed to help you, A, create, and B, safely complete a lot of what your work is? And the reason I ask is years ago, I met one of the stunt drivers from the old Bond movies, and he was telling me there was nothing. It was literally helmet on if you could, and just do what they ask you to do, and the outcome you were never sure about. So how has that changed, probably, in the years you've been working in this business?
Well, it's definitely a lot better now. The seats are better, the seat belts, the way they set up the cages, all that stuff. The cars are safer. So it's definitely the old days people would take wrecks. I mean, it were wrecks and two inside. Right now, honestly, you still get wrecked, but not as bad. Everything is better, just built better. The seats and of course the knowledge how to set up stuff.
Yeah,
So it's definitely
ability
I
to
hear-
control
I hear-
the
I hear
rat.
story-
cardboard boxes anymore and doing falls into cardboard boxes.
no,
Oh, yeah.
we're still falling car boxes.
Rubber boxes,
Oh,
everyone
really?
thinks it's old school,
Whoa.
but it's honestly one of the best things to fall into.
I go in a cardboard 100 times better than a airbag, and
Yep.
JJ probably agree with me.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's much forgiving. It can actually, if you miss your mark, you still, it's if I had the choice, I'd take a cardboard than a airbag for sure.
Very cool. That's very interesting to know.
Yeah.
JJ, what was your opinion when you first saw Grogu, Baby Yoda?
Oh man, I mean, first time and even my last time, you just still giggle when he comes out. It's like, this little sucker's so cute, moves and everything. He looks so real. It's amazing. It really is amazing. I mean, you get kind of used to everything else on set, but that little guy, I always laugh. I mean, it takes longer to shoot, but he's the star of the show. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
So for better or for worse, in this show, when you're working off of another stunt performer, like either purposely to really get the feeling or what, who goes the hardest? Do you guys end up going against each other? Are you going against like Carrie Jones, or who goes the hardest?
I'm sorry. Did you say the beginning part again?
Like in this show, either
Yeah.
for better or for worse, either for over enthusiasm or really to sell the realism.
Yeah.
Who goes the hardest fighting each other? Do you guys end up fighting against each other ever in any scenes, or going against like Carrie Jones or?
Yeah.
JJ like to hit hard.
Yeah, I always like to shame. I always like to shame people into going harder.
He like to hit hard. I have a story of the first time I met him. Actually, we were working a show called Sons of Anarchy,
Mhm.
and I doubled Juice in the show, and he was double another actor. And the coordinators, he knew him much better than me. Well, I was supposed to tackle him, and he say, "Hit him hard, like go as hard as you can." I think he just wanted to test him or just give him a hard time. So I tackle him as hard as I can. And then in the scene, he turns around and he punched me in the leg, in the thigh. So he turns around and he starts punching me in the thigh. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing? I went home, I'm limping like I got shot by a bullet. And I'm like, man, he went all out.
That was Theo Rossi's character.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't know. Like I said, it's been my dream to grow up to be a stuntman, and this new generation these days, I think, is a little not Eod's old school like me, but there's a lot of soft guys out there, and I always found out if the boss, who's me a lot of the time, sells out and it's going hard, they have no other choice. It's like, hey, this old guy's going hard. I better step it up.
Lead by example. That's a good
Lead by example, buddy. Trying to save the business.
And it's got to make the end product so much more, amazing.
Yeah, I try to. That's our goal.
It's just a personal opinion of mine. I mean, CGI and all the effects that they can, create. There's nothing like practical effects for me.
No,
You can tell the difference. They could tell the difference.
And a lot of people do rely on that. They rely on CGI to hide bad work. I say, I mean, I love my visual effects buddies, but like they like when we actually give them something, and they can put their effects around us rather than having to mimic us or make us look better.
Recreate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was very lucky to be on set of a movie a few years ago. Was being filmed in my workplace, and I don't know if you guys ever met him, a executive producer by the name of Josh McLachlan, and we were talking on set about practical effects, and he was having to, and I won't name the actors, teach actors how to react to a punch.
Yep.
And it was fascinating to see that learning curve for them.
Yeah, it can be a nightmare, that's for sure. A lot of times we'll work. I mean, I'll tell you too. You work, and an actor shows up to set, and they go to do something physical, and you're just like, oh boy, how are we going to fix this? And the answer is you can't really fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes time to fix it. It's like just showing up to a set and you want to teach them on the spot. Because most stunt guys, we all came from fight background, and if you don't know the basic of throwing a punch or the basic of moves, and I mean, and because we have to always manipulate to whatever the camera's angle and how to throw it, and know how to make it look. So yeah, it's not fair for them. Honestly, I mean, I see it all the time, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we look. But you have to think back again that hey, we've been training for a long time. We grew up doing this, and this guy, you bring him, and you just like you think immediately he's gonna pick it up. It's kind of, you have to see both sides.
Yeah, I mean, your set of skills are totally unique, and to try and immerse somebody into that they're not used to it must be, from your point of view, difficult to show them and difficult for them to learn it. So
yeah, especially if an actor come in and humble and say I don't know, that's fine. But when an actor comes and is like, oh, I do my own stunts and I'm like the expert, then he'd look at him, he's like, you can't even walk straight. So
we have a story about that which we'll talk about later, which Brendan told us about.
So what was you guys' impressions of you're working the volume?
Yeah, that's a whole nother beast. It is pretty amazing. It's the first time I've ever worked on one. Yeah, the technology that's behind that. I mean, it's just you can just look in there and just know how much money is put into that. It was interesting, that's for sure. Can definitely get some vertigo sometimes in there, but it really translates onto film pretty well, surprisingly well.
Now, it was most of your scenes on actual sets, or they actually in the volume?
Me?
Yes.
Most of them. Well, the train was outside. Most of it was outside, I would say. Most of it outside. Yeah. I think the tank fight was inside, in the volume, but the rest was outside.
What did you think of the volume?
The first time I saw it when I did Mondo 2, so it was very impressive. Yeah, very impressive. It was my first time out. One of the episodes of Mondo 2. Oh wait, Mondo 2 or Mondo 1? I can't remember. Sorry.
Blends together.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was heartbreaking. With the Gamorrean guards about to take the bump off the cliff.
Poor piglets.
So what is Frank Trigg, right? One.
Yes. Yeah, well, Frankie.
I think it was, again, sorry to harp back to Dickie B. Dickie was telling us about filming Return of the Jedi, and it was I'd love if you guys could confirm or deny if this is true. Sometimes maybe it's rehearsing a sequence, or you've shot a sequence, and the buzzer or the bell goes for dinner break or lunch break or whatever it is, and he was left on the floor in a Gamorrean guard suit, and nobody knew that he was still there, and they didn't pick him up and make sure he was okay. And I think in Arizona and Yuma Desert, he spent at least an hour almost passing out in this suit. They all forgot he was there on the floor, and he couldn't get up.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know that one. But
that happened. I was left in the pool playing dead when everybody went to lunch. And I'm still floating in the pool. I have a little snorkel, and I'm like down. I'm not hitting anything. Finally, I looked up, like, where did everybody go? Everybody's gone.
Wow.
I'm like, what the?
They did that deliberately.
That's like such a Western trope right there of getting shot in the window and then
shot and then falling in on the water barrel with the
horse trough.
Did they want you to go very much spaghetti Western-esque with setting up the kind of fight sequences?
Yeah, very much so. And like that one right there, my good buddy Scott Lang, I wouldn't ask very many people to do that, but very talented and tough, and I knew he could do it. And I mean, as you can tell, that was all real and no wires and stuff. And there's few guys that'll go for it like Scotty did there. So that actually I just started laughing when we saw it live, just because it just looks so bad. I don't know what it is when your friends do stuff. You know they're okay, but it stings a little bit. We just laugh at each other. You
Well,
just
I mean, I think it's the impressive for us watching the impressiveness of the stunt is that when we were watching that scene right there, we just go, "Oh,
Yeah, that's
I-
the goal.
Could have heard me. I said, ah.
Yeah, the reaction.
How was it working with Ming Na Wen?
Oh yeah, she was
How much
great.
of that did you get to do?
She was a
'Cause
pro.
she seems to be, she's like, most of the time she's, not wearing her helmet or her face is somewhat showing. So I'm imagining there's a lot more with one of you guys in the suit and then her in her costume
Was
versus
it Lauren? I think it was Lauren in this. Was it
Lauren Mary Kim.
Yeah.
No, Lauren, it was her name's Ming Q was her double
Oh.
in this. Yeah, man, Ming's another hard worker. And her double Ming Q, it was great. Like they would work together, while I'm off doing something, Ming would fill in and, train Ming Na in what we did. So, that was a huge team effort for that too. But yeah, she was another pro. Her and Tem were amazing. The workout, they were both pros. So it's always nice when you get, a couple lead actors like that are willing to work.
right.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
So there's obviously a bunch of sequences going to be coming up with Amy Sedaris. How funny was she on set?
Oh gosh, she's hilarious. She's hilarious, nonstop comedy the whole time, which is good because we're all working hard, and when you get someone like that just breaking ice and keeping the mood light, it really does help everyone keep your spirits up and working hard. We get the opposite a lot sometimes in some of our films.
I forget the actor's name here that plays the whatever he
Um,
forget his
Twilight."
His
David
name is David or something.
Yeah,
David
I'm sure
Fosse.
he was amazing to be around just in general because he's funny enough as it is as a comedian. Not
John,
even
he's going to be at Pensacon when you go see the interview.
Okay.
Very, very nice man, and just humble and kind to everybody. He was a pleasure to work with.
he showed up in She-Hulk as the guy that jumped out the window. I forget the character's name again.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Everybody's like, "Hey, that's the guy from Book of Boba Fett."
So I saw that and you're looking at your resume that you've done a lot of work with the Mayans as well, which I absolutely love, and I can't wait. One of our friends, Leilani Shu, who's one of the Jawas, it was a double for that in that show as well. How's working on that? Because obviously, it's a lot of the same people, that Kurt Sutter brought over from Sons.
Actually, it's a great show. I doubled a bunch of actor on that and motorcycle stuff, but the main actor that I doubled is Creeper.
Okay.
The character Creeper I doubled on. He's a super nice guy. I feel like I'm Sons of Anarchy with Theo, and now Creeper. It's almost the same scenario.
Oh wow!
The guy is super humble, and the coordinators, Oakley and Chad, they're just amazing to work with. Those guys are very respectful and safe, and I love working on the show. Unfortunately, the season, I guess he's in prison now, movie prison.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to do much on it, but the last few seasons, it's just great. Yeah, and I'm a motorcycle guy and a car guy, so it's all cars and motorcycles. So yeah, it's a great show.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, I've thoroughly enjoyed both.
Actually, when I was doing that last season, I was doing the Book of Boba Fett, and half of the time I showed up to the Book of Boba Fett half asleep because I'll be working all night on Mayans, and I leave the set at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, straight to the studios for Boba Fett, and me and Tim would sit in a chair for like 2 hours and a half, put on prosthetic, and I tried to get some close my eyes for a few minutes just to stay awake for the next day. So
my favorite hat for about 5 years was a black baseball cap that said Reaper Crew on the back because of my affinity for Sons of Anarchy specifically, but Mayans MC is amazing as well.
Yeah.
So here's a potential Star Wars link. JJ may well have previously worked with one of the Master Jedis. Could you tell us a little about that, JJ?
Who's this now?
Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh yeah. Mike, yeah, geez almighty. I mean, as entertaining in real life as he is on screen, that's for sure. I mean, there's just so many iconic voices in this business, and his is one. I mean, he just starts talking, you're like, frick yeah, that's Sam Jackson. So yeah, no, that was great. I did Hateful Eight with him.
Nice.
He's a pro. He's awesome. Snakes on a Plane, you know, he's just, there's just so many good roles that guy did.
Oh yeah.
I
There's
love
so
the
many-
meat
Watching the
action in
big
this
fight
scene
in
so
town
much.
center, the big gun battle. We've just had what I would be assuming the wire work where Fett and Mando are both kind of coming in, swooping in, and now they're kind of back to back shooting everywhere. Tell us about some of this. What was going on there? Who got to like fire the knee rockets? We all always want to see it.
Yeah, no, that was all. This was all me. I mean, it was a combo of me and Brendan and me and Latif.
Mm.
Yeah, and that knee rocket was that was all Rara Reed's like, why don't you shoot someone with your knee and shoot them with the laser at the same time? I did two different guys. I was like, shoot, all right, let's go for it. So
Some
this is pretty
amazing
funny.
shots.
Yeah, Robert. Again, this is, a lot of this stuff was choreographed, but once he's there in the deal, Robert's like, try this, do this.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly. That's got to make it more interesting and give you more energy in terms of like kind of keeping you on your toes, I'm
oh,
sure.
for sure.
Yeah. I like that attitude. Rather than you want me to do what? It's like, okay, we'll give it a shot.
Yeah,
See what it
that's
comes
right.
out like.
You're the boss,
Yeah.
Your
Well,
house,
especially if you're-
your house is bigger than mine, so let's try it.
Well, if you're also looking at like some of his other films, like all the machete films like that, he's very into his sequences. He's very much into his his violence in that sort of capacity. Talk about like his affinity for a lot of action at a lot of different times.
Yeah, what's awesome about Robert and the relationship that we grew over the years, when him and my dad is he literally will write in the script, huge motorcycle action scene, C dash for details. Like, it's like he lets us come up with, he's like, what do you got here? And we'll show him. He's like, cool. And then we'll just go for it. So that's why I love working for him, is he allows us to be creative and he trusts us. And, yeah, it's like I said,
It makes you more invested into the final product as well.
Absolutely.
This sequence has, and again, I'm sorry, I'm British. I don't have a lot of American history background, but this reminds me of the Alamo. This is okay.
Ooh.
This is it. This is the finale. What on earth is going to happen?
Worked on the Alamo, actually.
Ooh, that was a great shot.
Well,
Did
So
Carrie
who-
did Carrie do most
Yeah.
of his own stunts?
Harry did all of this.
Oh,
wow.
He's
Carrie
going
did
off.
not have a double. Carrie had one double, and it was when we had to throw him into a wall coming up, and not because we had to, just because insurance. They're like, nah, you can't do this. I've worked with Carrie's a lot over the years. He's a great dude.
Such an amazing reveal as he comes around the corner, loaded
Oh,
down
yeah.
with those guys.
Yeah,
And then
that
he
was
shoots throws the one and shoots him.
Yeah,
That
that was
was
fun.
amazing.
That was fun.
So besides the train sequence, Ian, what was your favorite fight sequence that you were involved with?
I wouldn't say my favorite, but the most memorable one is that when I got pulled from my ankle up in the air, upside down,
Oh yes,
hitting the ground. It literally took me 8 months to rehab my shoulder from that one.
Oh,
Oh no! When he was fighting the sand ape.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
With the chain
I
and
think,
everything.
Forgotten about that.
yeah,
That's
I
cool.
was pulled
The
from my ankle.
Harryhausen animation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Very
I was trying my
reminiscent
best
of that.
not to let my leg pop out of the socket. So
Wow.
the hanging from my ankle, and I think the second take I landed a little bit to my side, which is hit my shoulders, and I hit the ground, and I immediately thought I broke my shoulders over, and I had to sit in the ground for a few seconds, like trying. I couldn't feel my arm for a little bit; it was numbing and stuff. Like, I broke it, but then I got up and went again. And I think the day before, then I cracked my head open in that chain. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so it was a tough one. That chain wrapped around me and hit me in the back of my head, open like nice cut.
Ooh. Hey Jeff, there's your favorite character.
Droideka. Yeah, they're fake
Giant
droidecas,
droidecas.
but they are pretty badass.
So looking at a lot of this gun battle and this fight sequence, how much of the effects of it, the smoke, the dust, the explosions, is any of this like squibs or practical pyro on set, or is all of that CGI? Is there anything?
No, that's practical. You know, they blow big chunks out of the wall, you know, for the stuff around us. But obviously, what they'll do is they'll ask, you know, for something from special effects, and then they'll enhance it.
So you at least do have something to kind of
and you know,
react to and stuff.
And you know what, it mainly, that's what it is. It's for performance, you know, for us. ILM on this show, you know, the visual effects guys are so good. They probably wouldn't need too much. They could do it so good, but it does help everybody out, you know, us performers, and it's mainly just for timing and stuff, you know, reacting in the right time.
Yeah. So what are the droidecas on set? Like, you know, a tennis ball on like a 10-foot pole, or?
Yes, these were fun just because, you know, we again, here comes rules. It's like, nope, can't get that close. There's a force field. It's like, oh, all right. So it's, you know, trying to keep all this in mind and react to something that's not there. And like you say, yeah, there's a flipping tennis ball at the height, you know, just for the right eye line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to ask a technical question. So when Mando uses the flamethrower from his gauntlet, I guess, what is that? How do they do that? Because
that's all visual effects.
Yeah. So what do they use?
Does that, and they make it look
So there's nothing practical except for his arm movement.
Yeah. If we're inside, they'll give a little lighting, you know, a little light bar effect just to get some shadows, but no, there's no
so what do they use? What do they use for the flame? Is that propane? Is it like some kind of liquid?
No, there's not. Well, there's not. They don't use any of it.
Okay. CG.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all in the computer.
All computer.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of those like insurance liabilities. Any sort
especially interior shots. They don't want to be burning down sound.
They've just gotten so good at it.
It does look really amazing, especially the Boba Fett version of it.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is I thought the close-up was certainly a flame, but then if it's not, then
no, never. I always thought the same. Yeah, when I came on Boba, I'm like, we don't use real flames. It all looks real. They're like, nope, never.
Right there. So that was the double.
That was the double.
That's I love how these little people try to come in to help them. They're so tiny compared to him.
Dave, I think that was the shot that you had signed for me from Carrie with him when he was looking back with almost like the people
looking over the shoulder there. Yeah.
Well, this was like a practical town kind of set, multiple streets and stuff tied together.
Yes, all tied together. And, you know, we shot some of it in the beginning, and then they would switch stuff around, you know, obviously for
camera angles and
them traveling, you know, to a different part. So I think we had 3 different sets for this deal.
I love this part. Amanda's like, get out of here. She's like, no.
So
it's got to be amazing walking through this kind of a location, though, you know, because of how weird and, you know, otherworldly it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, how was working the training sequence when you did that with Joanna? When you already had to work with a gaffer stick.
Without having the gaffer stick?
Yeah.
Are you talking on top of the train or?
No, when you're training with
training
Joanna.
sequence.
Oh, it was great. I mean, it wasn't much different than just doing with the normal stick fights. So yeah, it's just the hitting the ground. I think it's always been. Yeah.
He got taken down a few times.
Yeah, she won that one.
So is it any different kind of relationship when it comes to you working against a stunt performer of a different gender or whatever?
No,
You guys, you still go the same at each other like you would regardless of who's in the costume?
female stunt performers are actually stronger than most of male stunt performers. I mean, a stunt female, she's going for it.
I'm
They're
sure
tough.
she has to have that ability to get to that point, most, likely, as well as, the drive.
They all come from, again, like martial art, power, like fighting backgrounds and stuff. And we guys, we always have the privilege in different movies and stuff to pad up and cover ourselves in clothes. They do stunts in skirts.
Mm.
So we have to, they can't cover up that much. So they're tough. We don't hold back.
Right. That's good to know. Because especially with the, that character, the Tuscan warlord or whatever they called her, she's so badass. It's just like, you don't know it's a female unless somebody tells you, as far as I can tell.
Joanna's pretty buff. I wouldn't want to get in a fight with Joanna.
Brendan was telling us when he did, the exact same as you guys a few weeks ago, that the Beskar spear was an absolute BASTART. He hated that thing. Is there anything props wise that you worked with that was just horrible, got on the way, was very awkward to work with, but they wanted to persevere?
Yeah, I mean, always. Prop guys on this show, though, are pretty awesome. They come to us, hey, what's working, what's not working, and do their best to accommodate us, yeah, I mean, it's part of the job. A lot of people like to whine about it, but you just deal with it.
Oh, crazy.
All
Here
right,
we go.
Coming in the scene right here.
How was it working with the Rancor?
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. I mean, obviously we weren't doing this, we're on the building, but a lot of this close stuff, I mean, they made all this stuff that's close with us. I mean, that's all real. The friggin' monster they built was pretty unbelievable.
So did you get to ride?
Oh yeah.
So are
Lucci
you
or
sitting
whatever
on
his
like
name is?
a crane or a
No,
dolly?
they built all this whole head, like all the close-up stuff is it's all real. It's all real. Like all, whenever it gets close enough to where it's, head and shoulders, that's all real Rancor. When they go a little wider, see the whole thing of it jumping around stuff, that's CG, but
Did they rig it up like a mechanical bull, or is it?
Oh, it was all on wires. They could, a mechanical bull. They could open the mouth. They could do expression. It was amazing. A lot.
Gimbal system.
It wasn't a Sunbelt scissor lift.
No, it was not. We weren't sitting on a ladder. That's for sure.
So we're coming up in a few seconds of the King Kong inspired Rancor, which is pretty awesome. We actually so we get jerseys made for when we go to Celebration, to other cons, and actually because we're going to London, inspired from this, we actually have the Rancor climbing Big Ben on the front of it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's a dope shirt.
See, that looked like a rough fall right there.
Yep, it was. We thumped Latif.
And you say that with such compassion. It's like, no, we did it. It looked good.
I mean, it's real. That's one thing when you work for me, you're going to hit the ground. It's just it's what we all signed up for.
JJ's famous line, "I've done it, you can do it."
I'll do it in my street clothes sometimes just to show them.
I've done it. You have no excuse. You doing it.
Jay, did you ever bust Latif's balls for being a sparkly vampire?
Oh, of course. Of course. He was so pretty.
In that earlier scene, we saw the droid eat it, and then the rickshaw they were in take that tumble.
Yep.
And when Pelly falls, she spits out a tooth, and now you can literally see that Amy must have a partial or something that she pulled out.
I think so. I think they just put a little makeup.
Because it really doesn't look like it's black tooth or whatever.
No, they did a little enhancement, but I think that was all her idea. She wanted to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, is that like because I know was it Jim Carrey or somebody? I think he had that cracked front tooth.
Oh yeah, Dumb and
And he
Dumber.
wore like a
Cracked
cover
tooth,
over
yes.
it, and he took it
Yeah.
off for like Dumb and Dumber or whatever.
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber. That's right. From what I remember, that wasn't. I think that they enhanced it.
Right. Well, it looks
She really
very
has a
realistic.
cracked tooth. If she does, I missed it.
because it looks like she's missing like a canine or something.
Yeah, a fang.
Right.
You see, going back to what you were saying earlier on about, doing, I've done it before, you can do it. So with American football versus rugby, the rugby players play exactly the same sport without pads or helmets.
Oh yeah.
but not with high heels. That's another one.
Can't
too.
argue with that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no. Yeah, rugby's a real
Yeah.
nice.
The hits, the tackles are all the same, just no pads, no helmets.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's great seeing Boba doing his Rancor writing in this episode with all this craziness. But
Yeah, it's funny because I one of my backgrounds is rodeo, and they kind of had this whole idea of how he would write it, and I'm like, I mean, that's cool, but it's not Western. Let's try this, and they did. They're like, oh yeah, that looks cool. I'm like, well, yeah, it's more cowboy than they wanted it more like equestrian and stuff, and it's just not very
right, that's not how that
manly or
beast
tough, I would
moves,
say.
right?
Yeah.
If I was going to say anything about, obviously, the riding the rain car, the one thing I think as fans wish we saw was actually seeing Boba getting trained to ride. Danny rolling his eyes with him falling off, and just something
Stuff like that would have been great.
80 sequence, of that happening.
I think the reason they did that is because, when he flies off, to recoup and get stuff, they just didn't want a prelude to this Rancor. They wanted it to be, which it was when it happened. Everyone's
Yeah,
like,
great
it's a
reveal.
Rancor, But if we saw him riding and stuff, I think that would have, we're like, oh, where's, he's going to get the Rancor.
We'd be expecting it to show up at this
Exactly.
point.
Wanted just a giant aspect of surprise.
Yes. Yeah.
It was in the back of everybody's mind, but it wasn't like something we were waiting for specifically.
No. It was like, oh yeah, that's right. You think back to
exactly.
or whenever it was.
I think we also wanted more Danny too. So
Everybody.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I'm disappointed in this episode is the lack of his presence. At least,
One thing about
sort of
Danny,
from
you're lucky to
periphery.
get him for 1 or 2 days on a set. He's so busy. So
Yeah, it was fun to have him regardless. So
absolutely.
I love that Snickers advert he did, by the way. That's still my
classic.
favorite there.
Classic, right?
I love when he actually showed up in Clerks 3 in one of the scenes, and he said, I'm not even supposed to be here, but he said in Spanish, and then walked off the screen. Which is,
oh, he was auditioning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, but this part it's really impressive is where you're saying how Western it is and lending this is just how riding with your offhand and controlling the Rancor with the offhand while shooting. It's very much old school Western and legitimate riding.
Yeah, that's what we're going for.
That was a great recreation of the classic Rancor eating the Gamorrean guard kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, very
he's still defeated, like hanging out like it's Audrey 2, like while he's just still fighting.
When I eat food, I don't always take it all in right away. Sometimes I bite part of it and then wait.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is.
How high was that fall? Was that a large one, or was it?
That was too high. I was I wouldn't have asked anybody else. We were just sitting there like, all right, let's have fall off. And I looked up and we had like a 15-foot rolling platform over by. I'm like, let's get that. And they're like, no, we can't do that. I'm like, screw it. Let's go. It's almost at the end anyway.
So was this scene shot near the end of production?
Yes.
Okay. So there wasn't like out of order kind of filming all this.
No, not this
beforehand?
part. All the other stuff in the beginning with the pikes, that was all kind of the beginning.
Hmm.
All this was funny, like towards the end, we were scrambling and like, Iad said there's 2-3 hours of makeup a day. So they'd put it on Tim. So I had to do this whole end scene right here, and they didn't tell me I was doing it. I'm just like, show up the day. I'm like, what the frick? So, a lot of pressure on that one.
Was this you with Dorian most of it?
Yeah, all of it. Until his helmet comes off. And then we actually had
Of
Scotty
course.
Lang double him for that one.
Oh. So you didn't have to shave your head to.
Negative. That wasn't happening. I did that once for Bruce Willis, and I'll never do it again.
Look what happened to me when I shaved my head too many times.
It just stayed.
Doesn't grow back. Just doesn't want to know.
I'd like it right now. I'm getting sick of this.
Oh wow. Is that for anything you're currently working on, or is it?
Yeah, I'm doing a Pete Berg Western right now.
Oh. Gotta have that scruffy look.
Oh yeah. Homeless. We're going for homeless.
Oh wow.
One thing from what I've gathered, Jeff, did you go through the Mandalorian experience?
And we didn't get the opportunity when I finally was able to get over there. It was too late.
Dave?
I did not. No, the line was too long.
Yeah, negative.
Because I know they had the eyes and the face piece for Cad Bane, and was showing the mechanics between that and Legacy. Was Legacy on set a lot, JJ?
Oh yeah, every day. Those guys are great. The work they put in and just some of these masks and stuff they come up with is next level for sure.
Tomorrow it is.
And where they put the music in after the gaffy stick hit.
Oh yeah, no. This scene was. Just how serious he is. It's pretty tough to beat.
So you're probably the right person to ask about this. When we see stabbings in traditional Rodriguez productions, you do see a lot of blood. Is it because it's Disney-fied?
Yeah, there's. I mean, if you look, is again one of the rules. There's no blood in Star Wars. If it's an alien or something, sometimes it's a different color of ooze or something. But
Right.
It's something I figured there's just no. That's why we'll do fights, get hit in the face. There's no blood. It's just a rule. And I'm not sure if that's a Disney thing or what. It's just them. These guys trying to stick so close to the code of Star Wars and try to keep it as real to the. They're not just trying to reinvent the wheel at all. They're just trying to, continue it, which I think.
I know, like from in like season 2 Mandalorian, when Boba gets the armor back. And he's smashing with the gaffy stick. I think the one thing we're all saying is that it would have been great if we saw brain.
Yeah.
But I think that still was some of the roughest stuff that we've seen in.
That was definitely Robert definitely stepped it up a notch on that one.
Absolutely, just the shattering of the helmets.
Oh yeah,
right. There was amazing fight scenes in that.
Yeah, that was very brutal and dirty and raw the way that he does it. He always would tell me, like when we're doing, he's like, this character is Conan. It's, that's his movement. Right. That's his personality is Conan the Barbarian. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I can do that one.
It's great to have that kind of reference.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then you know what you're getting into. That's for sure.
Yeah. What might be to come.
Poor Brendan.
He deserves it.
Getting smashed. Look at that. That helmet, man. If that helmet wasn't made out of what it's made out of, his head would have been long done.
Like a raisin.
Yeah.
The Dark Trooper pounding it into the wall of the ship.
Yep.
Oof. Those slides as well.
Yeah,
Drag the slit.
Oh yeah.
Do they do things like that with practical dirt and things to try to get as much of that in true, like a practical shot versus
Oh,
having
for
to?
sure. That was like
figure
one
it
they
all
kind of came up with on the day. They're like, how we can get him to slide? And I, our grip Bud, he's got this thing called the Bud cart, and it's just a go kart. I hooked the line up to Latif and hooked it to the back of that, and I was like, they're like, who's driving? I'm like, me, Latif, you ready? I just board and take him. Yeah.
Nice.
Real stuff.
And for the last
Oh, yeah.
15 minutes, you get your asses handed
Shows.
to you, and all of a sudden, here comes the kid and just raises his hand.
Yeah. That's what the people want.
Yeah.
True.
Well, they actually have a Funko of that now of the Grogu, right? In front of the Rancor.
Calming the Rancor.
Great.
It might please you guys to both know that I'm the massive Star Wars fan, as you can imagine. My wife watches it with me, and she said, hands down, Book of Boba Fett was her favorite series.
Oh, that's awesome.
Absolutely, she said, hands down the best.
Tell her she's a smart lady.
And
Well,
several
it's-
people are saying.
Well, she
other-
works for Disney too, so
Hey, there you go.
So is this kid considered within the production like a side quest per se to the larger Mandalorian story?
Yeah, they definitely have a plan. That's all I'll say.
Well, it's very Mando centric. This episode and the last couple.
Yes.
And considering there's that one episode where Boba doesn't appear except for in the recap at the
Yep.
very beginning.
Yep.
So that must have been interesting to work on the show without the lead character sort of around it for a while.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. Definitely.
nap time.
Nap time. Night.
The double nap time. And it's fun to see him do his thing and then have to rest for
Take
it.
a little rest.
That's like me after an hour on Zoom.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's a great callback to the
Mandalorian.
Pikes. Yeah.
So in a production like this, with all these the townspeople and everything, the mods, the scooter gang that are all fighting along. So knowing that there's that many stunts that are going to go in that they're going to have to do they hire stunt specific actors for a lot of those roles coming in?
No, some of those mods, like I think the two lead, can't remember their names, but the guy and the girl, those were obviously actors, but the other ones that they had around them were actually my people, stunt people.
Mm.
Yeah. So, a lot of these, like some of these actors, like obviously this main Pike guy was an actor, but all these other people, that are around, those are all my people.
He was Phil Lamar, who was the main Pike.
Yep.
Was he in the costume?
Oh yeah.
He definitely voiced it.
He voiced it. This we actually hung the actor right there. That was fun.
Ooh,
That's crazy.
this was just so gnarly that this whole thing it just was Fennec Shand. which is
Brutal.
Yep. Little assassin.
I think, I don't know if you guys knew about this, but jokingly between us, we referred to the mods as
Power Rangers.
call back to the guys from Back to the Future.
Oh,
And the
yes.
skateboards.
Oh, Bisque
Yeah.
Gang.
skateboards.
Yeah.
It's like, hey.
So there's
It's
what
like-
you were mentioning earlier, JJ, is when Fennec stabs him in the back, it's got green on that blade right there.
Yep.
So that's the
Yep.
sort of the presence of blood, but
the
definitely not.
alien
Yeah,
version.
alien goo.
So what was your favorite? Not necessarily your favorite fight, but what was your favorite memory of this production?
Oh,
Well, it was a long time ago. We don't realize that. We watch this stuff and think, you did it yesterday. It was
That's
at least
3 years ago. Yeah,
3
that's a
years
while.
ago.
Wow.
2 years ago. And then, favorite memories. I don't know. I mean, you're talking about apart from doing something there, or just the whole thing.
Anything.
All encompassed, or it could be a specific, whatever is good for you.
And you can't say getting paid.
Honestly, meeting Tim, I have to say it, and I'm not He's an astronaut. The guy, I mean, he's an amazing dude.
Yeah.
He was very respectful, and I actually worked with him after the show. I doubled him in a show in Colombia that he was doing at another a TV show, and he asked for me, and we hanged out in Colombia together. He's a great guy, and yeah, so that's really, you know,
To memory.
This has sort of a very sitcom-y kind of vibe with the way that
totally.
the group's kind of hanging out at the end. It's kind of funny.
How are you, JJ? What's your favorite memory or something that you will always remember from this production?
I mean, growing up, again, I mean, not to put anything down, but I wasn't the biggest Star Wars fan growing up. Not like I didn't like it, but it just wasn't part of my life. But everyone that works on this show, for the most part, is a huge lifelong Star Wars fan, and just the amount of work and energy and just care that everyone puts into this show. You don't always get that. A lot of times people are showing up like, you joked around for a paycheck, but everyone here was genuinely concerned with their job and to make everything as good as possible. And it's fun to see that, because there's very rare you get to see that in some of the stuff that we work on these days. So I would say that for sure. So it was a collective of things. I would just say the crew altogether.
Yeah, I had a really good relationship with some of the makeup artists that we become friends. Like we talk even until today. Like we text and talk, and because we spend every day together. Just
So you had to get the same head scars as Tim, that kind of stuff.
yeah, every day, like every time on the set, 2.5 hours to put it on, and about an hour and a half to take it off.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, and everybody was like super nice, super cool, got along, jokes, and every morning just jokes. And I'm one of the people, if you give me caffeine, I just can't stop talking. I just stop talking. I'm normally not a talker, but once give me a little caffeine, I will not shut up. And I would just telling stories and stories. Everybody would laugh. So it was a good time, like the start of it. And like putting the prosthetic was painful, kind of. Taking it off was painful because it was burned my skin. It was a lot of work to take it off, and but being with those guys, good relationship.
It's got to make the time kind of.
It made it fun, It made it fun. It felt like I'm just hanging out with my friends every day, and we're just joking, and Then JJ comes in and starts bossing me around, and I'm like, God damn it!
You got to work.
After putting prosthetics on or makeup or whatever, working really hard and getting tired, you must feel like just leave it on. I'll go home. I'll sleep in it.
There was a couple of times where it'd be like, because it was hard to take it off my skin because I don't drink, which is funny. I learned something new doing that show, that it's easier to take it off if you drink alcohol because it gets in your skin. I don't drink at all. And it was sticking to me like nobody's business. And so a couple of times we'll have some pieces, and I'm like, I just leave it. I'll go. It comes up with a shower, fine. If not, tomorrow it's going to go home. And I'll go home and my face will be red, and my wife goes like, "What happened to you?" Like, I'm going back tomorrow.
I can't tell you.
There's a great bonus scene here at the end of the episode.
Yep.
JJ, were you hoping your deputy character would be in a Bacta tank next to him?
No, I knew he was gone.
Damn it.
Yeah, several of our members over in the chat were saying that they were just absolutely gutted when the deputy got shot. They were saying, Mark especially.
Fans.
I was.
I
They were
wasn't just hurt,
But he kind of saw it coming.
They're totally going for that overzealous deputy trope, huh?
Oh yeah, for sure. I joke with Dave all the time. He's like, no, you're dead. I was like, no, I know.
It's
somehow the deputy returned.
Somehow he survived.
Yeah, somehow.
There's a lot of memes this came out. It's like, I shot the sheriff and I shot the deputy.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I've heard their face on it.
I've heard them all. They always say, hey, the marshal ain't for sale on set. I get ragged on quite a bit.
Awesome. Well, this has been absolutely a lot of fun. First and foremost, I want to thank Iad and JJ for joining us. Iad, thank you so much for joining
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
Awesome.
lot of
And
fun.
JJ, thank you as well. The stories you guys been telling us has been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope you all enjoy season 3. It's a lot of good stuff.
We look
All right,
forward to it.
that's what everybody's been saying. So we're very excited with that. John, you want to say anything?
Aside from just fantastic episode, completely different to what we've done in other watch-alongs, and just to get to know a little bit about your work and some of the fun and challenges and things that you experience day to day on production is just such a treat for us. So thank you both very, very much.
Absolutely. It was
Thank you.
my
Jeff.
pleasure, for sure.
Great having you guys. Like John said, hearing, talking about the experiences you had on set with the cast and crew is great stuff. It's always fun to get the, behind the scenes and be like, okay, that's a practical effect. And we know JJ made him do it and probably hurt afterwards.
That's right. That's right.
Dave.
Doesn't hurt
We look
about
forward to
real.
more.
Okay, so I'm curious, and I've got to know, and if I've got to know, a bunch of our viewers have got to know. Iyad, you said you were just working on Magnum. Did you get to drive the Ferrari? Were you
Oh yeah, I
driving?
was thinking that earlier.
No, Magnum PI drive a Ferrari. I was the guy who just trying to run away always. I'm never the good guy. I'm probably like the only time was the good guy is with Boba Fett. I'm always the thug or corrupt cop or something. So no, we were chasing the Ferrari actually.
There we go. Well, thank you for that, and thank you for sharing all your experiences.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Dave, anything coming up on the VCN?
All sorts of stuff coming up on the VCN all the time. Is this weekend we've got another episode of the Jedi Archives coming on, talking about some more of the High Republic comics. Next week we've got Rebels Revisited, still a live episode even on President's Day, the holiday, so we'll have a live episode then. And we have an awful lot of episodes of the Bad Batch, some great episodes of the Bad Batch to catch up on our Tuesday watch along. So please, please, please join us for those. And then again, next Thursday, we're watching Gallery next Thursday.
Yep.
Gallery, the week before
Gallery.
Mandalorian season 3.
Absolutely. So getting ready.
Awesome. So once again, thank you very much, Iyad, and to JJ for joining us. This is Spencer saying, this is the way.
Thank you.
This is the way.
May the force be with you.
Yeah.